All right, trying something a little bit different this evening. Well, not so different, not that I haven't done anything like it before, but I've just been doing a lot of things recently that aren't really amenable to videotaping, right? But I can always still get a camera involved, like photography. I can take pictures. And so over the last 4 or 5 days, or 3 or 4 days, or whatever, I've started collecting some photographs with the idea in mind that I'd like to, try to be at least keeping some video journaling going on. Like I feel the pressure of having my YouTube channel, and I haven't been putting a lot up there. And it's mostly because I'm just really busy, and then I'm doing things that I really can't get away with videotaping. However, the camera. So, um, with that in mind, this is a starting point for a little bit of an update this evening. This photograph was taken probably 2 hours ago, hour and a half ago. Um, I am on shift tonight. I'm on duty at an apartment complex doing security. And I wasn't supposed to be doing security here this evening. In fact, I was supposed to have all week clear of doing any security, save for one concert, because I've agreed, or I agreed a long time ago, to help someone doing deep root fertilizing all week. The guys who I worked for in the winter, this is their busy time, and so I had committed to a full, like, 8 day stretch, 9 to 10 hours a day, doing nothing but deep root tree fertilizing, and I'll get into that a little bit. So I wasn't supposed to be doing security. However, I have to be this evening at least, because my buddy, my supervisor, Eduardo, um, he got beat up here last night. He was doing his rounds right in the area behind me in this photograph, and somebody snuck up and whacked him on the back of the head with something. He had just coming out of those glass doors you see back there, and he said he heard something that sounded like glass, and he turned to go look. This was like 2:30 at night. This is way deep in the night. He turned to go look and find out what it was, and next thing he knew, he was on the ground. Somebody had whacked him in the back of the head. Um, he tried to find his glasses. They had been crushed. He lost a tooth, and he went to the hospital. Has a bit of a concussion, so not a good thing. But at the same time, personally, I consider him to be lucky, because that's the kind of assault where you could easily end up dead, or at the very least with severe and permanent brain damage. So if he gets out of it with a little bit of a concussion and a lost tooth, I think he's lucky. And I don't know what provoked it, like what might have brought it on. I mean, this is, even though it doesn't look it, this is kind of a rough area, a rough apartment complex. Um, Not quite as rough as the murder apartments that I was working. The contract over there ended, by the way. I haven't been working those apartments. But a lot of the drug trading, there was, like, if you come over here a year ago to this same apartment complex, it would have been similar to the murder apartments, where every night there's either EMTs on the scene for something or police on the scene for something. I mean, there's still a lot of that goes on here, but not nearly like what it was a year ago, and that's a result of the security company, doing our thing, and making, patrols and writing down what we observe, and tenants have been evicted. All the serious drug trading that was going on, just like right out of the windows of this apartment and stuff, and off people's balconies is that's all gone now. It's really quieted down here, but doesn't mean you're not going to get jumped in the middle of the night. Um, One possibility is it might be some kind of retribution. I don't know. There is a faction living in these apartments who call themselves Crips, East Side Crips. And the other apartments, the murder apartments I was working for, they consider themselves, a bunch of them consider themselves Bloods. So the other week when they defaced our sign, this is one of our signs for the security company I work for, which is Canines on Patrol Security Cops. They defaced the sign and wrote this East Side Crips and blood killer stuff. So I defaced theirs and wrote like baby crib, just to fuck with them a little bit. And I don't know, maybe that got Eddie knocked over the head. Hard to say. Hard to say what it was, or whether, who knows? Who knows what brought it about? But that's what happened. So now I can't say that it hasn't changed the way that I walk around here now, because I was walking around just now. I did a patrol before I started up this recording, and I was kind of hyper alert. I unexpectedly ran into a guy coming through a doorway, and I kind of startled a little bit, and then I'm more suspicious of people walking around out in the dark now. It sucks that to have to feel like more guarded than I usually do here. It usually feels like a pretty relaxed atmosphere here. But now I know that somebody here, knocked my buddy over the top of the head. And there's nothing saying they're not going to try to do the same to me. So I got to be pretty guarded. Doing my thing here. So yeah, this is what's going on this evening in terms of security. The other thing that's been going on with security is I did work in the last few days. A couple of days ago, I did work a show, a concert. Unfortunately, this was not the concert that I worked. This is the concert that I wanted to work, that I desperately wanted to work. I'm a Rihanna fan, and she played the Saddle Dome a few weeks ago, and I was invited to come and work there, and I could have come and worked the. I could have worked the floor. I would have probably worked right up at the stage, with the barricade like I normally do at the shows. But the same night that Rihanna was going on, I was supposed to be doing a shift at the murder apartments. That was at the end of the murder apartment shifts. And Eduardo couldn't cover me because he was over here at this apartment. And there wasn't anybody else. So I lost out at Rihanna. And I was pissed about it, Like I'm still crying about it. Because there's very few people that come around that I really would be interested in seeing, but Rihanna is one of them. I mean, this is my kind of music. I've always been into, I don't even know what to call it. I don't really like that whole, it seems like if it's a black singer, then they're gonna call it rhythm and blues, R&B, or they're gonna call it hip hop. It's the rhythm and blues category I really don't get, because it's just like, all right, why don't you just say black music, because that's what you're really That's really comes down to anybody that's black that's singing that you can't easily categorize them as pop or hip hop. They must be rhythm and blues. It seems like a goofy category to me, so I don't go with it. But yeah, I've always liked black female artists, like Rihanna. I think one of my very first concerts I went to was Whitney Houston. I like groups, black female singing groups, like I always liked In Vogue and TLC and these kind of groups. Um, but yeah, I would have been right into Rihanna, and I didn't get to go, and it pisses me off. I do, every week or so, we'll go out, me, Eduardo, and the supervisor from the other security company that hires me from the concerts. Three of us will go out in the middle of the night. We'll have a breakfast or something at a Denny's, and ever since the Rihanna thing, I gotta keep bringing it up. I gotta keep bringing it up to Eddie. that you fucked me. Should have found somebody to take my place somehow, so I could go see Rihanna. Because I'm burned about that. That's an opportunity I'm totally not gonna ever have again. Instead, the opportunity that I got this week was to work security at this boy band from Canada, this Canadian boy band that I could care less about, called Headley. And it's just noise as far as I was concerned. Not into Headley. However, Headley did have another Canadian, Carly Rae Jepsen, opened up for them. And to me, Carly Rae Jepsen was the show, right? I was right into her. So this is, I scoured the internet. And of course, we're not allowed to take selfies and shit up there working security. I was working the barrier up at the front, and so I scoured the internet looking for some image of me up here, because this camera is going all the time in these shows, right? Someone's got to have posted an image of me at the show. I found this video of one of her, her singing an entire song, and I just screenshotted this out of the video. It's the only real scene where you see me in there, and of course I can't be like being professional or anything. I got to be like checking out her ass and looking perverted. So this is not usually how I am when I'm working the security. It's just I was a little bit distracted, and so and to be fair to me, she had just got done kind of like flirting with one of the security guys. She had kind of she had passed him the microphone to sing the chorus of her song, and kind of embarrassed him and stuff. And I was still laughing over it. That was less than like 30 seconds before this shot, and I was still kind of laughing at that and following her. But yeah, definitely caught in the act here. But it was a fun show. I liked her act, her set. I'd go see her as a show unto herself, this Carly Rae. Forget about Headley. I care less about Headley. So yeah, this is what I've been doing, like security wise, which isn't very much the past 4 or 5 days. What I mainly be doing, what I mentioned before, is I've been doing deep root tree fertilizing, and I've been doing this, like I committed to these guys a couple of months back, that from like May 7th through, what is it, the 15th or something, there was going to be a stretch of 8 days where I would do nothing but work for them 10-hour days fertilizing, right? They really needed me, and these are the guys that like helped me during the winter when I was struggling to survive, they pitched me some work. I was building fences. I was doing, auto body stuff for them, this and that. And now is their busy time, and now is when they really need my help. And so, and of course, now is also the time when I've got like a ton of stuff on my back, right? I got the snakes coming out, so I've been fetching a few snake calls. I've got the museum work now. I've got security that I'm doing, and so I had to put everything else except for snakes. I don't put snakes on hold for anything, but I put everything else on hold as much as I could. Like tonight's an emergency. Obviously, I gotta be here doing security, otherwise I wouldn't be. Everything else on hold, and just focus on the deep root fertilizing. And even with all that, I've had some marathons, right? I've been doing some marathons. Like when the first last Friday, what was it? I worked during the day. I worked at the museum, and then at night I did a security shift, till 4 a.m, and then I had to get up a couple hours later and go do a 10-hour shift of this stuff, and and in between I did jujitsu too. So I've done a couple of marathons like that over the last week, where it's just been like back to back to back with just a couple hours in between for catching Z's. Not getting enough sleep, and I'm feeling it, and it's bothering me because as soon as you don't get enough sleep, you really realize, how important sleep is. And that's what I'm feeling now. In fact, between my patrols for the rest of the night tonight, I probably will try to catch some quick little power naps somehow, because I can't operate on no sleep, and I've got to do another 10-hour shift of fertilizing, deep root fertilizing tomorrow. In the middle of one of those, one of the marathons that I've done, work marathons this week, I also managed to fix my brakes on my Jeep, which I was proud of. I had, when I took in the Jeep to get new tires put on it, toward the end of last summer, they told me I need new brakes. And so I asked them, well, how much is that? And it was like $800. And I thought, nah, I can't do it right now. So I just went on with the old brakes for basically almost a year. And as you can see, if you know brakes, I wore the pad absolutely off. There's no pad on this, right? It's just worn right off. And the rotor is all etched out. And so, it started to make really, really bad sounds. As you can imagine. And at that point, I decided, well, I got to do something about this. So I went to the store, and I bought the rotor, and I bought the pads for both of my front end brakes, and I did it myself. It wasn't hard. Replaced them myself. So it went from the $800 estimate that they were giving me at the shop to $180 worth of materials and about an hour and a half of my time. Well worth the $600+ savings. And my brakes work great now. So that's something I was proud of, is not only putting in the brakes myself, but doing it in the midst of just absolutely being crushed with work and no sleep. So, deep root tree fertilizing. This is new to me. This is one of the trucks that we use. And basically, what you have is a truck. You have 1,000 liter tank on the back of the truck. You have a motor with a pump, um, and a, what do you call it, agitator, right? So there's two lines that go into the tank. One is to bring the fertilizer out, the liquid out through the pump. The other is to agitate the liquid, agitate it in there so that it keeps stirring around, and so that the fertilizer mixes in. I can't remember the name of the fertilizer we're using, but basically we fill this thing full of water, and I put 5 scoops that are probably, each scoop is probably about 3 cups, right? So we're talking about 15 cups of this blue, bright blue, obviously not natural, some kind of chemical thing that mixes with that 100 liters of water, with that 1,000 liters of water. And then I use the wand that you saw in the other image, and with 200 pounds per square inch pressure, I put fertilizer underground by about 6 inches, right? Step on the handle, put it underground about 6 inches, spray it down there. And how much I spray depends on the size of the tree, right? So you look at the tree, and if you estimate the tree to be 12 feet tall, you divide that by 3. So you get 4. So you give it 4-second spray. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. And then you move around the tree, and every 2-3 feet, you stick the wand in. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, and so on, right? So big trees use up a lot. Small trees, not so much. And yeah, so we've been doing this. Now these trucks we're using are like dinosaur trucks. These are old trucks. I mean, they're not like 1950s or anything, but they're old, right? And so this is a image that I took from one of the trucks. It's a standard. And you can just see it's just like hanging in there. It's just making it another year somehow. It's going to outlive some people, I think. Now, I've had a bunch of different experiences out here doing the deep root fertilizing. Most of it's done out in the country here, around the city of Lethbridge, but in the in the surrounding farms and this kind of a thing. And so there's nice things to talk about, and there's not so nice things to talk about. And whenever I personally have the choice between, do you want the good news or the bad news, I usually pick the bad news first to get it out of the way. So let's just deal with the bad news. The bad news is, doing this work, I've been exposed to some, to the food industry, right? This is one of the places we worked the other day. This is a poultry farm, and these long houses that you see here are just chicken houses with thousands of chickens. This is one of the farms that produces for the company that provides for KFC. So this is where KFC chicken comes from. And many, many, many other poultry farms exactly like it. So being around these, I was around poultry farms, dairy farms, feedlots, cattle, all week this week, and being around them, gee, it's hard not to think that maybe I should go vegetarian again. There was an experience that I had where I was driving across country one time in the United States, and I think I was in Kansas, and I just stopped at this convenience store, and I bought this like big pepperoni stick kind of a thing, and I was gnawing on that, and then this smell came, And as I went down the road, I realized, oh, this is where the smell is coming from. There was something like a couple of miles straight of nothing but cattle jammed together, necks sticking out of the fences and all this stuff. It was nasty, and the smell was awful. And I was chewing on this beef stick, and I was like, oh, gross. And I threw it out the window. Right then, I became a vegetarian for the next year and a half. Like, no meat for the next year and a half. And working this week, I'm almost to that point. It's just been so nasty. This is one of the spots where we've been filling up water, and it's on the side of one of these long poultry houses. And you can see just on the left-hand side of the image here, there's this big fan on the side of the building. And they just happen to position that fan right where we're going to fill with water. And that fan turns on every couple of minutes. And it's the only fan sucking the nastiness out of this big chicken house. And oh my God, when that fan was blowing on us, that was rank. That was some rank stink. I didn't see it. One of the other guys saw it, but back behind, if you were to like go in the direction that the trucks are facing and go back behind the building a little ways, I guess there's like a pile of dead chickens, like hundreds of chickens out there. There's fly infested, nasty pile in the sun. And because of course, chickens are going to die in these conditions, right? But if you got like thousands and thousands of chickens all inside of one of these buildings, of course a bunch of them are going to die. So they're chucking them out there, and it's just gross, and it's grim. When you look at this, like a chicken is going to be born and raised in here with these big garage doors shut, with just the unnatural, light, the bullshit light fixtures that you see here. No windows. They're never going to see the light of day for real. And it's horrible. It's really, really grim. And I am considering just dropping meat again, at least store-bought meat, because this is just not ethical, right? I don't know. It's hard. I guess there's nothing more to say about it. But this was just like you see this on documentaries and stuff, and then to see it in real life, and I don't know, just brings it home. When we go over to wherever Costco and buy our thing of nice big fat chicken breasts, this is where it comes from, right? This is the kind of place where it comes from. It's not nice. And each one of those chickens, that's a living being. And while I do believe that that plants are also sentient, and so it doesn't really, going vegetarian isn't really the answer. Raising animals for food in conditions like this is definitely not the answer, right? So yeah, it was just something to think about. But let's get on to nicer subjects. Of course, while I'm out there working on trees, I'm looking at what's going on with nature, and I've seen lots of birds this week, and I've seen lots of insects. This is a couple of, might be hard to see here, box elder bugs mating. Come across a lot of kind of mating swarms of them, often around maple trees. I didn't know they really like maple trees as well. But yeah, it's the mating season for the box elder bugs. And then I pay notice to obvious night perches. Like this is an old bird nest, but it's filled with poop. right? And it's not the birds that nested there that make that poop. It's somebody that comes there and hangs out there for the night is making the poop. And in my little fantasy, I like to think that maybe it was one of the chicks that was born in this nest, has a sentimental thing and comes back here and sleeps in the same nest he was born in. But that's probably not likely. It's probably an entirely different species that comes here and sits and poops in the nest. But yeah, I found lots of night roosts of different birds. There's another big pile of poop that always, it just says, hey, this is where someone has been sleeping night after night after night after night. One of the properties we went into, you can see here a large bird flying down the path between the trees. That's a great horned owl. And I saw lots of owl signs at lots of different properties. They really like these spruce trees, the owls. And there's lots of, every farm practically has a set of spruce trees to serve as a wind guard, because we get lots of wind, right? So they usually plant a couple of rows of spruce trees along the western flank of their home or what have you, so that they can block that wind from the west. So this place had a lot of trees, and it made for a really good owl habitat. And so there was a nest here. I started seeing all kinds of sign, right? This is owl pellet that they regurgitate, and it's been kind of washed down, of course, but you can see all the little mouse bones in there and stuff. So I got my eyes peeled once I start seeing owl signs, and I saw big owl flying down the trees. I know it's time for the owl fledglings to be out. And sure enough, at this location, I came across 3 owl fledglings, actually. But this is the one that I was able to get closest to. He was way down low, obviously, on the tree. And he allowed me close. And Mama, thankfully, didn't come tearing my scalp off, right? As they are occasionally known to do with intruders coming in toward their nest. So I felt so comfortable around this one, I even decided to get a little selfie. I didn't get so close, This is about as close as I got to the owl. But I had to work around, I had to fertilize around that tree, right? But he was pretty cool. And this is the nest tree, like way up the tree at the top is where the nest is. And he had 2 siblings up there. So that was a cool experience, hanging out with the owl babies. And then the other day, I noticed, I just suddenly had a revelation, and I was looking at myself, how I was dressed and what I was doing, and I thought, somehow I've basically become like Bill Murray from Caddyshack. If I only had a floppy hat, I would totally be Bill Murray from Caddyshack, Got the camouflage shorts, shirt, got, the boots, and I'm doing the workout on the lawns, landscaping, and that kind of thing. Yeah, I basically become the Bill Murray character. So I posted this photo on my Facebook and mentioned that I thought I had become like that character. And then my cousin Anna saw it and decided to do a good Photoshop job for me. And so this is what she came up with. She got the shadows pretty good, hey? Not perfect, but pretty good. Pretty good. And yeah, so that's what I've been doing the last 3 or 4 days. And I think, I don't know, this was just an experiment to see how it would go if I just took some photos and just kind of narrated my way through what was going on. Um, and I think this experiment, I've enjoyed it. So I'll probably keep more images and stuff over the next 3 or 4 days. I'll try to post another one of these um, shortly. And, I'll probably have some actual videos component stuff in the next 3 or 4 days as well. I'm expecting more snake calls, of course, but the weather has turned a little bit cold and rainy. In fact, it's supposed to be below zero overnight tonight. So I might not get any snake calls in the next 3 or 4 days, but the big wave is going to start coming. The rattlesnakes are going to start coming. I always take video of those. I do got jiu-jitsu tomorrow night, so I might record some jiu-jitsu. Last Friday we had jiu-jitsu training, but I did not record it. We were just basically working drills, and I didn't think it was anything. Oh, excuse me. I just got a yawn bomb. Didn't get anything. I didn't think there was anything worth like really filming with the jiu-jitsu practice last time. It was mostly drills and stuff that wouldn't be so interesting. So I didn't film it, but this week I probably will film something of it tomorrow. But yeah, I guess that's it for now. And this is what I've been doing last little bit. And I think, this kind of works as a way to update things when I don't have videos to show for it. So, thanks for watching. And I will keep on journaling.